Hello friends, the European Union is closing its doors to Ukrainian men of military age. An official decision has already been made about what will change. Now let's break it all down together. Please, leave a like to support the working class. Aerodynamics. Friends, it's my birthday today, so the best gift you can give me is a like and a subscription to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Now let's get down to business. Today, the ambassadors of the European Union countries agreed to extend the protection program for Ukrainians until March 2028, but excluded citizens subject to conscription from it. Yes, that's a bit of a spoiler. This rule will only apply to newly arrived Ukrainians. If I may, I'll read it out. Given Ukraine's changing defense needs in the future, temporary protection will only be granted to those who fulfill their military obligations in Ukraine. This restriction will apply only to new applicants for temporary protection. It will not apply to those who are already under temporary protection in the European Union. Well, that's what the EU Council statement says. To receive temporary protection, Ukrainians will have to confirm that they have fulfilled their military obligations. What exactly does this mean? For example, this can be done by presenting a passport with an exit stamp issued by the Ukrainian authorities, which confirms that they left Ukraine legally and therefore have fulfilled their military obligations. This can also be done by presenting a document either in paper or electronic format that confirms exemption from military obligations or their fulfillment. That's the kind of interpretation our dear European Union has. Now, in the coming weeks, this decision will have to be finally approved by the Council of the European Union. I don't think they'll drag their feet on this. Probably after that, it will become clear whether Europe will start denying protection to those subject to military service immediately or only from March 2027, that is, from the moment when the current stage of temporary protection expires, which in fact is being extended for another year. There's an interesting nuance in the European Union's preliminary decision, dear friends. It says there that proof that a Ukrainian has no problems with the state and can be granted protection will be a stamp in the passport indicating a legal border crossing. This means that those who left Ukraine legally can, as before, receive protection, even if they don't have a military deferment but left, for example, on a business trip while having a draft reservation. Basically, only those who cross the border illegally are cut off from protection. However, they can go live in any other country outside the European Union, yes. We recently made a video about these countries. However, when leaving, as far as I know, Ukrainian border guards rarely put an exit stamp for Ukrainian citizens, so you need to remember to ask for it separately. Well, that's the official position of the European Union, dear. Let's draw some conclusions. We have 4 brief conclusions about what this means. The manpower vacuum is switching to economy mode because Europe no longer intends to uncontrollably subsidize someone else's demographics at its own expense, leaving only those who have already integrated, who pay taxes, or at least have settled in. The European Union gently but firmly believes they're putting a sign on the door. There are no rooms available in our hotel for new potential conscripts. This is a pragmatic economic calculation because the existing refugees are already working or studying, but the new stowaways who are fleeing mobilization without documents are simply not needed by Europe or European bureaucracy in such numbers. On the one hand, there is still some time, but on the other hand, those in Ukraine who are thinking about what to do need to hurry up and make a decision. Next, legalization through Taito. The EU and Kiev's requirement for a stamp or military registration papers is a clever move to coordinate their efforts. Brussels is kind of saying, damn, we're for international law for human rights. But we won't let those wild fugitives who came through the Carpathians legalize their status here. In this way, dear Europeans, they are skillfully shifting the burden of filtering onto the Ukrainian border service. If you want some kind of European status, and of course the wonderful Polish social benefits, for example, then you have to prove that the state let you go in peace. Another key point, in my view, is the large migration of illegal immigrants. Since wooded areas or mountain rivers will not stop being routes for those who are already desperate, we will inevitably see changes in migration routes and logistics. Those who bypassed official checkpoints will now just travel through EU countries in transit, for example to Albania, before moving elsewhere. The final destinations are countries with more liberal legislation that are not part of the European Union. They accept workers without asking unnecessary questions like, "What's with your military papers, dear comrade?" So, we also have political bartering. Let's face the truth. This decision isn't about humanitarianism, it's a purely geopolitical deal. Kyiv needs people to hold the front line. And the European Union wants to demonstrate support for Ukraine's defense capabilities while not spending any extra cents on social welfare for the new migrants. A beautiful, absolutely cynical solution, wrapped in a nice package. Guys, we're just taking care of fulfilling military obligations, that's all. Well, that's the reality, friends. Moving on. Well, as I said at the beginning, yes, dear friends, I've already turned 40 years old. It's a respectable age, quite a historic one, when you can not only look around, but also understand some of the processes happening around you. You know, I remember when I was young and handsome, at 25, I thought, well, damn, by 40, I'll already have the remote control to the universe. Okay, at 25, I didn't really think that anymore, probably thought that at 20. In reality, what I really want on this day is not something trivial, but something that's in short supply today, peace in Ukraine. I want people to stop destroying each other. We already know the main root cause of this, yes. I just want people to return to their families and start a normal life. Those who still have somewhere to return to without sirens, draft notices, or constant fear of the worst. Honestly, that's my only, most sincere and heartfelt wish. I don't want a new car or the Seychelles. I do want those things, but they're not my top priority. Because while a great tragedy is happening on Earth, well, my wishes are a bit different. Let me say a few more words, friends. Since we're already on a lyrical tangent, yes, you can write there. Happy birthday, leave a like so that this video gets at least 10,000 views, because lately, as you know, well, for those who keep an eye on my view counts, things haven't been going very well. So, I want to take you with me to the soccer fields of North America. There's a sports drama going on there, but of course it's a much more lighthearted drama. So, we've already come right up close to the final of the 2026 World Cup. You can write in the comments, friends, who you will be rooting for. Spain, or I almost said England. No, it's going to be Spain and Argentina. Well, the semifinals showed who's the boss here and who just came to the States just for a little trip. Yeah, the French tried to show some tactical genius, but the Spanish just didn't even notice them. They confidently scored 2 goals and sent Deschamps into retirement. Well, the Red Fury is alive and hungry for wins. They booked themselves a ticket to the final without any problems at all. Yeah, and last night there was real drama. The founders of football in sunny England. Yeah, by the way, I was there in England when they played against Norway, and honestly, I think they drank all the beer in the city. So, the English were already trying on their crowns after Gordon's goal. But then Grandpa Messi, 39 years old, stepped onto the stage. With a simple move of his foot, he provided 2 assists, and both Enzo Fernandez and Lautaro Martinez skillfully ended England's run. So, the historic England versus Spain final didn't happen, but instead we're in for a grand battle of titans. Yes, let me remind you, on Sunday, July 19th, New York, Spain versus Argentina. And you know what I want to say? Messi, nearing the end of his career, is leading the national team to a 2nd straight championship, as if he's in his 20s again. Well, the Spaniards are great too. Fast, good, that's it. As you can see, the Argentinians show the swagger and character of champions. We will watch, we will cheer, and we hope that these sporting battles will remain the only battles that humanity will have to watch with bated breath. That's it, friends. Thank you very much for your attention. Happy birthday to me. Let peace come as soon as possible. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Also mention the city you're watching from. That's important. I'm keeping an eye on everything. See you next time.